horses can be healing for women who are on a medicalized fertility journey, I do believe that one of the lessons horses can teach you or offer, if you're open to receiving it, is how to be in your body again, how to be present to all of the sensations, how to feel grounded, feet on the ground, alert, noticing what's around you, and how to tap into your heart space or your emotions. Welcome to the Red Thread, Fertility, Healing, and the Embodied Journey. I'm your host, Shreyasi. This podcast was created for women who are walking a medically assisted fertility journey, such as IVF or IUI, and feeling like there has to be more than just getting through it. More support, more understanding, and a deeper way of staying connected to yourself along the way. Here we explore the emotional, physical, and spiritual layers of this experience through honest conversation, shared stories, and insights to help you feel held on an isolating path. Wherever you find yourself right now, whether things feel uncertain, overwhelming, or heavy, you don't have to carry it on your own. This is the Red Thread, a space where you can slow down, feel what's here, and gently find your way back to yourself. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Red Thread podcast with me, Shreyasi. On today's episode, I'd love to share more about horse medicine and the ways that being with horses can be a support and a transformational anchor on your IVF IUI journey. A little background: I live on a farm in Sherwood Park in Alberta, Canada, with my husband, and we have a herd of 30 horses here at our farm. We've been blessed to have our paths cross with those of the horses and the horse collective over the last several years. I first met horses in 2017. I felt an instant connection with Stella, who was my heart horse. And ever since then, I felt this kinship with the soul and the spirit of horses. Of course, I've learned how to partner and care for horses in other ways. I've been exposed to riding, horse shows, breeding. We have a breeding program here at our farm, the Spirit Farm Gypsy Cops breeding program. So I've experienced different aspects of being with horses, and throughout, what has always struck me is the importance of partnership with horses and acknowledging that they are sentient beings. They are in themselves living, breathing beings who are sharing this planet with us and have their own stories, their own experiences, their own emotions and memories. Stella taught me this in so many ways, as I've talked about more in the Why episode. But we had a connection that helped me recognize that horses aren't here to do for us. Horses are here to be horses, to be in their natural essence. And the humans that partner with horses really have to learn their ways and their language. And this is the basis for all of the programs we offer when it comes to anyone visiting our farm, being with horses, and connecting with them. And ever since the pandemic, my husband and I have been offering equine facilitated therapy programs here to various individuals and groups. We started with offering programs to our colleagues and friends, so mental health nurses or first responders. We also offered programs to patients struggling with anxiety or depression who may be receiving other treatments but have also struggled with their quality of life and their functioning for several years and who are drawn to working in nature. and with animals. And then we just expanded or grew the program over the years. In many ways, I'm very proud of what we offer. We have a diverse team besides myself and my partner Frank, who are both trained in different models of equine assisted wellness or healing. We have other members of our staff who are also trained in equine assisted learning, and more importantly, who really love and know our horses, know their personalities, know their stories, and know what makes them tick. Because we can never forget that horses are choosing, especially in a therapy or healing setting, to move forward, to present, to be in the space with clients or patients that are coming to the farm. It is always a choice. Consent is so important. Consent from the human side and consent from the horse side. And there are many ways to notice and sense into your horse being present and open and consenting to partnering with humans. And that could be the subject of another podcast, which I'd love to share. But essentially, I think what matters for today is really helping emphasize that this is a choice that a horse is making, a horse in our herd, a horse in a paddock, to come forward and be with a human, to be in their energy, to be in their heart space, and to sense into them. Horses are prey animals and have a very heightened sense of various aspects of their nervous system. They are evolved or designed to sense for predators, being prey animals. And so their sense of smell, their sense of sight, their sense of energy and vibrations, and their hearing, all of these senses are fine-tuned to helping a horse survive in its natural habitat in the wild if they came across a predator. Even horses in herds or families, when they exist in harmony or coexist, there are ways that they communicate with each other, again designed to give them the greatest odds of survival if a predator comes their way or into their space. And so often the way a herd communicates with each other, the dynamics, and the way horses read energy with each other is something that is part of their essence, has been present for centuries across ancestors in the horse collective. And when humans come into the picture in a healing setting, the horse's capacity to sense into your nervous system, your physiology, it doesn't turn off. It's part of the natural way that a horse senses into his or her environment and makes their own sense of who they're encountering, human or animal. So when people come into our healing programs and first get to learn about how horses communicate, reading their body language, tuning into their own bodies, it can really feel like a different way of being with horses than something that they've been used to, possibly. If you are someone who's been around horses your whole life, you may already know how calming or healing it can be to be with certain horses, to be in their presence. And I think, unfortunately, we do get conditioned along the way, depending on the ways you've been partnering with horses. If you're in high performance disciplines or shows or other aspects, it can sometimes influence what you already know intuitively, particularly when you first started to interact with horses, that they do have choice. They do have their own perspectives on things, and they have wisdom to share with us. And so we often invite people who visit our herd at retreats or in sessions to drop what they know about horses, to just leave it at the side and to just approach being with horses in our setting with an open mind and an open heart and a curiosity. We also invite people to notice how their body is feeling at any moment. Horses are 1,200-pound animals. We have to be observant of what we're noticing in the space between us and a horse, their body language. Are they approaching? Are they pausing? Are they withdrawing? And so we naturally become more mindful in horses, in the presence of horses. So mindfulness is another way of saying you're noticing things as they're happening, and you're noticing them with an openness, a curiosity, and a non-judgment. And it is something that has become this wellness approach that is often guided and taught and practiced, very mainstream these days. And so we always like to say that horses are guides, mindfulness guides and teachers. All animals are. And when you come into a healing space with horses, you really start to recognize pretty quickly that if you're caught up in your thoughts, if you're distracted, if your body is here, mind elsewhere, that can get quite unsafe. That can be uncomfortable for you and uncomfortable for a horse that you're interacting with. So coming back to how horses can be healing for women who are on a medicalized fertility journey, I do believe that one of the lessons horses can teach you or offer, if you're open to receiving it, is how to be in your body again, how to be present to all of the sensations, how to feel grounded, feet on the ground, alert, noticing what's around you, and how to tap into your heart space or your emotions. A lot of the women I speak to in fertility support spaces may not have words to describe this, but it feels natural to override your body and your nervous system at times, especially if you're in the midst of a procedure or a test or a treatment. Even after treatments, when you're waiting for results to know if you've been successful, there can be immense anxiety. There can be highs and lows. And often women just, in a way to cope with what they're dealing with, tend to numb out or diminish or shut down from their emotions. And when you're with horses, when you're out in nature, when you're with animals, those pieces thaw. They come back to the surface. You begin to attune to your body in real time. You begin to notice your emotions and you begin to feel them. Horses create a space where if you feel confident with reading their body language, with understanding how to be safe with a horse in all circumstances, horses can create a sense of expansion and safety for some individuals. And so when you're with them, it feels like there isn't a need to perform, to wear a mask, to act in a certain way. And that's another reason why I think women coming into these spaces who've had to put on a mask or a persona at work, with family, with friends, when inside they're actually feeling really different. If they're having a bad day or they're hoping that this time around the treatment cycle will be successful, etc. You know, a mask is something we tend to put on very naturally, and you get to take it off when you're with horses, and that can feel unfamiliar. And so when you're first around them, you can get big emotions, big physical reactions, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with what's happening. It means that you're starting to thaw and you're starting to show your real self in an environment where it feels safe to do so. Let's take a pause from this episode for a moment, as I'd love to share a resource on bringing horse medicine onto your healing journey. If you are curious about the horses in the Spirit Farm herd and how they can become a part of your healing, you're welcome to consider purchasing the Trusting Spirit Horse Medicine Deck and Guidebook. Created by me and the Spirit Farm herd, this is a 33-card oracle deck featuring photography and stories of our animals, their medicine message, and guidance to uplift and support you through your day. You can purchase the Trusting Spirit Horse Medicine Deck and Guidebook at my website, www.shreysibroadhecker.com. And now let's come back to the conversation. I think that is a big part of why horses can be healing on your fertility journey, is that they invite you into that space of authenticity. We also call it congruence in some of the horse wellness terminology. And congruence is when what you're feeling on the inside is reflected on the outside, because horses can sense a mismatch in congruence. They can sense if you appear a certain way, but on the inside, you're feeling very panicked. You're feeling grief. You're feeling fear. And that often is reflected in the way they interact with you and in their body language. And when you're held in a space with facilitators who are well trained and well versed in what's going on, they can provide those reflections or interpretations for you to then explore and build your own self-awareness. So I think so far, just to summarize, horses help you become more mindful. Horses bring you into your body. Horses make you feel on some level safe to drop the mask, to be more authentic, and to be congruent, to be able to share what you're really feeling on the inside. Another way that horses bring a depth to any kind of holistic healing on a medicalized fertility journey is by their stories. One of the teachers that I've worked with, named Hilary Schneider, describes this as horse medicine. So acknowledging indigenous wellness and wisdom traditions. When we describe horse medicine, what that is referring to is the teachings or the wisdom that horses offer humans. And every horse in a herd, in our herd, or any other herd that you visit, has their own wisdom and teachings. We don't get to know them right away. It isn't something that a horse walks around with a placard on their face or around their neck teaching you about. It's something you acquire as you get to know the horses well, but it has a lot to do with their mission or contract being on earth in this lifetime, meeting you. It has to do with their story, their life experiences, and it has to do with the way they stand in their space, the way their soul wants to communicate. So even the way I'm describing it, you've probably inferred it isn't something you get out of a textbook. It isn't black and white. It's something that you trust your intuition around. And I never like to dictate or define what a horse's medicine is. I can have a sense of it, but when clients or patients visit our farm, we'll share a little around the story of a horse that they're drawn to or with whom they're having a very powerful moment of connection. And then we allow for the horse and the human together to create whatever meaning comes of that interaction. And so when we say that horses carry medicine, I feel very passionately about each horse having a story and a voice and a message for the women who encounter them. So wherever you might be on your IVF or IUI journey, when you visit the horses, you never even, like some people don't quite know why they're there or what they're looking for. And you never quite know. You might have a sense of it, but when you're actually in an encounter with a horse, that's where there's a possibility for a potent connection and for insights to be reached, for the dots to connect, for something to stir in you. And maybe you receive a message or a feeling that you can then take with you through your week into your fertility journey. And so that's another way I believe that horses can anchor you on your fertility journey. And if I think back to the things that women have shared in terms of their experience with our groups, in particular our equine facilitated therapy group called Sacred Ambrosia, some of the things they've shared as far as how being in the group has benefited them or being in the herd or with horses has benefited them, they've said things like finally feeling peace, feeling light in their body, feeling hopeful, feeling joy, being able to laugh, connect with that inner child excitement or exuberance of being in a farm setting with horses, getting to know them. Those are all ways that our horses have touched or impacted the lives of the women who visited here. I also wanted to add, when we connect with horses, there's many different ways to connect. And when we have programs at our farm, we offer the possibility or opportunity for women to connect on the ground, connect at the fence, go into the herd. Our horses are at liberty, and you get to approach horses or they approach you. And there's moments where you can be in their space. You can connect with them through touch if that feels available in the moment, and the horse is open and receiving of that touch. The horse may enter your physical space and you can connect that way. We occasionally have opportunities for clients to groom and be with horses in that way. And certain programs do offer riding opportunities. We offer on the ground opportunities because we feel that's most aligned to consent and for both the horse and human to participate as much or as little as they choose in any interaction. There is so much more I could share about horses and how I think they've helped transform the lives of women coming here and who are on a medicalized fertility journey. I'll say a couple more things and probably continue this conversation in other episodes. Another story or way that they can be healing is the nature of that particular herd that you're meeting. For example, our herd, as I mentioned, we have a breeding program. Some of the mares or female horses in our herd are mums. They've experienced conception. They've experienced being pregnant. And they've experienced delivery or labor and giving birth to foals. And I and our team here have been present and midwifing horses through their labor for several years. And we've learned firsthand when you live with animals, when you're in their space, when you're guardians, you see a cycle of life, birth, death, and rebirth. And you see up close that birth and labor and even pregnancy aren't always easy, aren't always safe. And so there are some beautiful stories of miracles unfolding here at the farm. And then there is also tragedy when it comes to the aspects of birth and of birthing our beautiful foals at the farm. And so mares in particular, I feel, carry a special wisdom for women, and particularly mares who've had foals. So they can offer you a space, a place to witness your story in a very unique way. We also have geldings or male horses who are castrated. We have younger horses who are drawn to that beautiful maternal energy that women in our spaces often carry, maybe unconsciously. But there's something about the mares holding space for women who are on their own conception journey that is so pure and that I can't put into words. There are also mother-child dyads in our farm and in our herd. So, for example, we've retained some of the babies in our herd and they've grown to be fillies or geldings, and their mums are still here in the herd. Their aunties are here in the herd, the other mares that have helped raise them. And so there's this beautiful community and village here in our herd and in our family of horses that can also offer depth and teachings to women who are trying to find their way, becoming a mum and figuring out how they'll have the support once they become mamas. So I think that's a beautiful element of our herd and of herds you'll meet that can provide you some grounding, reflection, witnessing, and space holding if you are a woman seeking to become a mother with the assistance of medical fertility treatments such as IUI. And the last thing I'd love to share is we are cyclical creatures. women are cyclical beings, like the moon and the tides, like the passing of the seasons. We carry that wisdom, those codes inside our sacred feminine bodies. And being around nature and animals gives you a sense of the cycles that exist outside of us. They remind you that you are one of a larger living world. You are a creature in this world. And I think that we tend to disengage or dissociate from that if we're being scrutinized through a heavily clinical or medicalized lens. And so there is a beauty and an ease being out on the land, out in nature, out with other living creatures that helps a woman restore her beautiful body and her sacred essence into a larger scheme of living beings, of living reality. And you get to feel like you're part of something bigger that is holding you and supporting you through the ups and downs of your fertility path. And so these are some of the ways that I feel horses can anchor and be wise companions on your IUI IVF journey. I will definitely be sharing more in future episodes about this, and I hope that this inspires you to perhaps consider animal-assisted wellness or equine-assisted wellness as an anchor or support on your medicalized fertility journey if that is available to you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll connect again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for taking the time to join me today on the podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and leave a review. You can also connect with me at my website, www.shreysibroadhecker.com, or at Instagram at Shreyasi_Broadhecker to stay in touch and explore more of the work I do. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode. Disclaimer. The content shared on this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes and is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice. Every fertility journey is unique, so I encourage you to connect with your healthcare provider or qualified professional for support that's right for you. Any views or opinions shared by guests are their own.